Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. More Birthright for you here. So today we've got the big one as far as the Brecht realms go, and that is Müden, the probably most famous of all the Brecht realms. Certainly one that is playable for PCs, and really, as you can kind of tell from all the other previous videos we've watched and subsequent ones as well, covering the Brecht area, Müden is always mentioned in some capacity. They are sort of the major force in this entire area, and as we can see from the entry, they are a powerhouse. So if you're playing this as a PC, certainly you're going to have some advantages because you are sort of top domain, top dog of this entire area. So and just incredibly powerful on so many levels. Now, if you're adventuring in here, there's going to be all kinds of ripe opportunities as well, and really a great starting point for a campaign for PCs to venture onward and accomplish things. So it is a lawful neutral realm. It is recommended for PCs. As in many of the Brecht lands, a few regions hold much of the power, so it's not just one central figure. We'll see that. That being said, unlike the other Brecht nations, Müden is a cosmopolitan realm and amid rough country. So, several provinces here, as you can see. Quite a few of them are very high level. You got several 6s and 7s here, a couple of smaller, lesser developed ones, and then a couple of mid-level ones as well. As we can see on the log, and it's not uniform, there are a couple of regions holding sway as far as that goes. Multiple temples, multiple guilds, and even on the source side, there's a lot going on. So, let's jump in. The Count of Müden and the Captain of the Royal Fleet of Müden share the law holdings of the realm. Many holdings lie unclaimed, since neither wishes to rule the land with an iron fist. The people, and thus far, no third party necessarily tried to muscle in. Temples, the people of Müden are not godly folk, but Ela, goddess of night and sister of thieves, and Neira, goddess of the sea and lady of morning, have significant followings. A few worshippers of Eric can be found in the south, since Eric is recognized as the old father of forests all over Cerealia. On the guild side, the Brecht Zeil und Kaufen runs most of the lumber and shipping interests in Müden, while Ela's quick fingers controls the illegal commerce of the land, though they do so secretly. On the sources, most of the magical sources in this land are plumbed by its neighbors, the Banshee's lieutenant Gastus Reigart, and the mysterious Roylan Greencloak, which again is left as a blank for us for now. Now, if you're getting in to running this, again, we mentioned this is a powerhouse realm. So Regency, fair bit accumulated here and generated. So you got 2860, and then as far as the count goes, if you're running the count, or 5522 for the captain. So actually quite a bit more for her. Treasury is also kind of split, 35, which seems a little bit lower compared to some of the other Brecht realms, but again, they also have a substantially larger standing army and navy, which we can see below. So we can assume some of the cost has gone into building that, but then upkeeping that as well. The captain, as a trade-off as far as the RP goes, the captain has a significantly smaller treasury of still 15 gold bars, which again, not insignificant for what is essentially just a naval commander. Now, the army itself, one of the biggest that we've seen as far as the Brecht realms goes, although still really in quantity minuscule compared to realms like Borroween and Avenel. So the Count commands, though through many lesser captains and noble families. You got 4 units of cavalry, so that's actually quite a bit. 2 units of infantry, 2 units of Royal Müden infantry, effectively elite infantry. 1 unit of Royal Müden Knights, again, very elite. A unit of Dwarven Guards, which they've hired out from Baruka Zeek, so you got a little bit of another elite unit there. And then the Navy is 2 round ships and 1 keelboat. So that's the Army's naval forces, we should say there. The captain herself has also several units under her command. So as part of the forces on all of the ships that she commands, you have 4 units of Royal Marines, again rather elite, 2 units of archers, so just plain old archers. It is kind of curious that there is a lack of ranged weapons in the actual army. That's something easily fixable with a few domain turns of just adding that to the standing forces. Now, her navy's pretty dang big. He has 6 Royal Müden roundships, 3 keelboats, 2 cogs, 4 coasters, and actually an Anuiran galleon as well. So lots of big stuff there. Now, the regent is Richard Talbert. He's a level 4 fighter, pretty solid bloodline of 30 and lawful good. And then Melisande Reaversbane, level 9 fighter, and kind of minuscule bloodline there. But they share the law holdings in Müden and do so quite amicably, which is rare for some of the realms that we've seen if there's multiple regions. Both find themselves interested in different aspects of the wide, prosperous realm and therefore seldom come into conflict. Richard is the hereditary Count of Müden and concerns himself mostly with the inland provinces and relation with the neighbors, while the captain, she's basically a self-made regent and ostensibly in charge of the royal fleet, and therefore is primarily concerned with the seaward interests and defenses. Whenever friction does develop between the two, each kind of remembers the other's strengths, and then the Count does hold the hereditary title and controls the food and lumber producing lands, while the captain commands the captains and navy that keep Müden safe from its enemies and prosperous with its friends. So the Count and captain basically form a pretty formidable duo most of the time. Several lieutenants are in the realm as well. So the Count, foremost lieutenant, is also the primary guilder in Müden. So a halfling guildmaster named Theofold, who is a very high-level thief of 9, minor bloodline, and lawful neutral. He took over the Brecht Zeil und Kaufen a few years ago, turning it into what was essentially a rundown guild into a pretty potent enterprise. Now, the captain has her own lieutenants, but most are just sea captains who travel the world in their wooden ships. Now, rumors do hold that she has connections with Ayla's quick fingers, but no one knows for sure, but that could be a potential source of friction or conflict, or compromise for her as well. Other important NPCs, so Theofold's niece is Folda Spiritwalker, level 6 priest, and she's secretly the leader of Ayla's quick fingers. But the front for her is she leads the temples, while some sort of unknown figurehead leads the Thieves Guild. And so that way she can appear sort of to maintain innocence, even though she's kind of double dipping between the religion and the thief activities. So Theofold, who's an occasional worshiper of Ayla, may know of Folda's true position, but hasn't revealed it to anyone. For her part, Folda carefully monitors her temple's guild holdings so as not to encroach on her uncle's interests. So even though normally you would see a lot of conflict in a setup like that with some of the other realms we've seen, here things, even though everyone's kind of got some different interests, do appear to be working amicably, but that could be a source of conflict. Alaric Pinemast is a level 5 fighter, and he's the captain's second in command and leader of the Royal Marines. He sometimes grows impatient with her, secretly wishing she would just get rid of the Count, but so far is kind of not taking any steps to sort of cross the line there. And then another interesting character, King Albrecht Graben, who's a level 5 fighter, level 6 thief. Major bloodline, although it's still rather small at 23. So he's the king of Grabentoad, which we'll get to once we round our way up to the eastern realms of the Brecht lands. He's a prisoner of the Count of Müden, although the Count treats him with courtesy, but the captain does treat him with contempt. He proves himself rude and obnoxious at every opportunity. He would do anything to escape the court, short of acting like a civilized person. Now, there we do have to point out, if you take a look at our series of Birthright novel reviews with the Hag's Contract, that kind of adds a little bit more of a wrinkle to Grabentoad, but of all the Birthright novels, that wasn't necessarily the best one. But we do get a little bit of a wrinkle there where it kind of indicates that he's actually kind of just happy being here and not dealing with running that country. So just an interesting counterpoint to that. Worth a quick check and read through of the novel, although again, it's not the best of the Birthright novels by any means. Now, as a description of the realm, since Kiergaard fell under the sway of the Gorgon, Müden has been the strongest and most prosperous of the Brecht lands. Once Müden, Massenmarch, and Kiergaard were the centers of power in the region, ruled by Anuiran overlords and Brecht collaborators. When the Brecht League was formed, these three realms were at its heart. Now, Müden stands as the last of the royal kingdoms. Its aristocracy finds a rival only in Danagau, but Müden's cities and traditions are still older and stronger. Its navy patrols the Great Bay, keeping the pirates of Grabentoad from closing the summer passage and trade with the outside world. In many ways, Müden is a mirror of all things Brecht, with most of its lands, particularly the southern marches, essentially being empty. Large farms and a few mines make up its central provinces, and then the Müdenites, always a seaward folk, respect and fear the great forests that surround their pleasant land. Now, the capital, Brechtland, has been Müden's capital as long as the history of this land has been written. It's a cosmopolitan city where many languages are spoken and many cultures mingle. I'd almost compare it to the Anawirian capital. Just as a comparison as far as the different Brecht realms go, this would be the closest to that. Dwarves practice smithing while halflings trade here, and all the races of men come to work on the Brecht's wide ships. Even elves occasionally visit Brechtland, though that is a rare occurrence indeed. So again, it is a central meeting place for just about all walks of life and all types of races and other things, more or less found in Cerealia here. So again, as far as like if we were just adventuring in Müden, this would be a great sort of central hub as far as starting off a campaign and a place to come back to for many different jumping off points for adventures. Other settlements. One other major city finds its home in Müden, the eastern coast of Saarmen. Saarmen is geographically larger than the capital, but Brechtland is more populous. If Brechtland is the port where people arrive to trade and sail, then Saarmen is where goods depart, so it's kind of the outgoing or export port there. The rich Brecht farms and wealthy mines transport their goods to Saarmen for distribution to other areas. In addition, Müden's coastline is sprinkled with fishing villages and towns, and indeed a town on the northern tip of Allsrecht, which is kind of fun. So like in German, that essentially be like everything's right, alles recht. Known as Halsarm, another fun name if we want to be literal about it. So like neck arm, threatens to become the third city if it can keep any more of its coastline from falling into the sea. So that's one thing I always thought was a little bit interesting as far as the description of Müden goes. Even though this is really one of the biggest Brecht realms, and again, certainly most developed, populated, and powerful and all that, the fact that there's really essentially like 2.5 cities, like major cities, does seem a bit odd. You'd think that there'd be a little bit more, but it is what it is. But hey, that's where ruling the realm into those levels would be a goal to have. Now, the main trade goods was lumber, cotton, and food, and certainly other minor ones like the different minerals and things like that. Some of the mines and so on would count as well. The royal shipyards of Brechtland turn out some of the finest vessels in Cerealia, but these ships seldom sell to non-Müdenites, so it'd be a tough sell there. And you could almost say that maybe there's like a standing law or policy not to sell it to outsiders, to sell those types of ships to outsiders. So now it'd be interesting, of course, as adventurers to maybe acquire one of those fine ships or perhaps liberate one of those for your own use or commandeer, as it were. So that could be fun as well. Now, allies. The Count has many friends throughout Brechter and beyond, so while Baruka Zik can hardly be called an ally, its Overthane did consent to hiring out a troop of dwarf guards to the Count, a fact which impresses most of the nobles of the kingdom. The Count is known as an able negotiator and peacemaker, so few antagonize him without good reason. Now, the most surprising ally the kingdom has is Justina, the Banshee's alter ego. Charmed by the Count and holding a great respect for his prospering realm, Justina and her wizard Gastus Reigart keep a not-so-secret alliance with the hereditary ruler of Müden, and as we've seen from the other realm description, that also keeps other people from maybe attacking the Banshee's realm, because then they'd have to deal with Müden, which would be a big undertaking. Enemies, of course, there are many when you have such an important status. So the pirates of Grabentoad are the chief antagonists here, and they hold a grudge for Captain Melisande in particular. They've tried to assassinate her on multiple occasions, and she just in return just sinks their ships and just ruins all their attempts. Masson March, of course, is not an enemy to is an enemy to everyone, but even the Swordhawk doesn't want open warfare with Müden, and perhaps as part of that deal, facing the Banshee as well. So, the Swordhawk is kind of comical almost in the way that, could certainly be a major threat, but it's almost like comically kind of contained by external and internal issues. Royal Guard and Müden have grown more tolerant of each other over time. Royal Guard's current regent is more disposed to ignoring the Banshee as long as she causes no trouble in his realm. But again, that could be something where an adventure hook leads that way, and maybe she is causing trouble, or someone is pretending to act as part of the Banshee's realm to destabilize things. So you could have that as well. Now, last but not least, here are some special conditions. Müden is a well-traveled land, perhaps with more foreign visitors than PCs are accustomed to encountering. The people have grown used to seeing men of all races, humanoids, etc. So as a result, the average Müdenite tends to be less impressed by strangers with unusual abilities. So it's a great way for maybe some more unusual characters in the party to perhaps disappear, but also if the PCs were chasing after someone, they might just be able to blend in much easier too, and not really cause a stir by seeing like an elf or something come into the lands and visit, or things like that. So that could be a interesting adventure caveat as well. So then finally here, so again, unusual strangers, those possessing royal blood, etc., but also less suspicious of those from foreign backgrounds. So again, a sort of melting pot territory, and again, less impressed, less likely to cause a stir by someone from either Anawir, Kanasi, Voss, Rurik, etc. So again, could work in to the advantage and disadvantage of the PCs in different aspects there. So, but again, a great realm, almost a fun one as far as, again, just starting a campaign here for PCs. If you haven't run a campaign in the Brecht realms yet, this would be an easy one to do. Certainly a powerful realm, lots of opportunities here to just start off that adventuring career. You could maybe have the PCs full a stint in the Royal Marines, dealing with the pirates, dealing with other external threats, just exploring the realm itself, other maybe neighbors to the south, all kinds of interesting possibilities. Now, if you're running the realm, certainly, again, you are the main power. It's just a question of, how much more do you want to develop the realm and build up some of the cities. Of course, that's going to ideally lead to an increase in economy and all that. Don't really have any major internal problems. You just want to make sure that the people working for you are on the same page. The temple situation, the guilds, things like that. So again, it's just a matter of making sure that some of these things that could brew over into conflict or just a misalignment of interests don't become serious threats. But more or less, you have kind of an easier path towards growing and just even more increasing the power of the realm. Certainly a couple things that you could shore up on the Army and Navy side as far as unit selection and things like that. And then, depending on sort of the grand ambitions that you may or may not have, it could be any number of things, from perhaps dealing with some of the big bads that are around, like the Swordhawk, other areas, and just forging other stronger alliances could really lead to this almost becoming in the same way that like an Anawirian campaign would be maybe like, hey, reforging the empire and becoming emperor. This could be sort of maybe reestablishing the royal realms of the Brecht, and sort of with Müden at its center. So again, kind of like a more of an epic campaign there as well. But again, you're still not that far from the Gorgon necessarily. If you grow too big, you got other threats as well to the east and to the south and so on as well. So just a fun, interesting realm. But let us know, guys, your thoughts on Müden. If you've run the realm, how that's gone, and if you've adventured in and around here, let us know your stories. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll have more for you soon.